So for our notes today, we're going to be going over a very quick concept. So again, the topic is, what's the X factor good for? What are these X puzzles for? Why have we been doing them for the last week? So they're actually going to be helping us when it comes to factoring trinomials later on. So for now, we're going to just see how do we use them and what's the implementation of them once we know how to solve them. So again, the purpose of the diamond problem is for us to be able to factor later on. So we're going to get problems of the form ax squared plus bx plus c, where a, b, and c are actually numbers, and those numbers are the ones we're going to use for our diamond. So in order for us to figure that out, we're going to take the a value and the c value, and we're going to find the product of these two numbers. So we're pretty much just going to find the product of a times c at the top, and at the bottom we're going to put the value of b. So that's how we set up our diamond. We take a times c and we do the product of them, or the multiplication of them, and we put that at the top of the diamond, and this piece goes at the bottom. So one more time, a and c, the two outer ones, if they're in order, are the product of them goes at the top of the diamond. The b value goes at the bottom. Again, no letters are needed here, just the straight up numbers, and then we just go ahead and solve these two side numbers, and we're going to see how we're going to use them to help us out. So let's look at the first example. We have x squared minus 14x plus 49. We are going to take our a value and our c value, and remember our a value here is an invisible 1, and it's going to be 1 times 49. That's going to go at the top of the diamond, and this bottom value here, the negative 14, goes at the bottom of the diamond. And then we ask ourselves, what two numbers multiply to give us 49 and add up to give us negative 14? So again, it's got to be two positive numbers or two negative numbers to multiply to a positive. So the only options are two negative numbers because the bottom number is negative. So it would be 7 times 7 is 49, but that gives us positive 14. We put negatives on both of them. They still give us positive 49, but they add up to negative 14. So that's the solution to my diamond. Now, that's how I set up the diamond. We know how to solve the diamond. Now, how do I take this information from the diamond and put it back into the equation? So the whole purpose of this diamond is for me to get these two numbers, because these two numbers are going to allow me to rewrite this expression into 4 terms, because we currently have 3 terms. So we know how to factor by grouping, which requires 4 terms and 4 terms only. So we're going to go ahead and take this information, and this diamond allows me to split the middle term. So now I have an x squared. The negative 14 gets replaced by two negative 7x's. So negative 7x, and then drop the 49. So I'm going to use this diamond in order to split the middle term. So let's go to this little word phrase here. The purpose of the diamond is to split the x term to use it for factoring later. So for now, we're just going to get used to splitting the term, and we're going to actually use it to factor all the way through later on. But again, from here, we just do factor by grouping, but we'll not do that today. So again, just get used to going from 3 terms to 4 terms by using the diamond, which will not be our purpose for splitting the middle term. So let's go ahead and try another one. So let's look at the next one, and we see that we are going to multiply the first and the last term to get the top of the diamond. So we have this 3 and this 40 get multiplied. That gives us 120. Bottom term goes in the bottom. The middle term goes in the bottom. Just a numerical value. So now I'm thinking of two numbers that multiply to 120 and add up to 23. So again, there's multiple things that give us 20 and add up to 23. Now this was a bit of a tough one, so you'll have to do a few combinations before you actually get the answer. But this one ends up being 15 times 8. Probably not one of your first guesses for 120 as figuring out its factors. So now that we have our two numbers that solve our diamond, which is 15 and 8, that's what I'm going to use to split that 23, because 15 plus 8 is 23. So I'm just going to rewrite it, and I'm going to split that middle term. So I'm going to go from 3 terms to 4 terms. So 3x squared. I'm going to split the 23 into a positive 15, and don't forget the x, and a positive 8, and then we're going to bring down our positive x, I should say, and bring down our 40. So again, we went from 3 terms to 4 terms. Last one in the examples. This one only has 2 terms, so how am I going to do this right here? So just looking at this, the 5x squared represents the ax squared. The negative 20 here represents the c value, which means we're missing the middle value, which is the bx term, because we don't have an x term. So in this case, when we don't have the bx term, that means it's a 0. So one of them is missing. It's actually a 0. So I'm just going to add a 0x here to represent the b term, just for me to see it. If you can skip the step, that's fine, but if you need to write it out, go ahead and write it out. Let's set up our diamond. First times last is 5 times negative 20 is negative 100. Middle term is 0. So 2 numbers that multiply to negative 100 and combine to give a 0, in this case subtract. That would be 10 times negative 10. So solution to my diamond is 10 and negative 10. That is what I'm going to use to replace that 0x term in the middle to go from 3 terms to 4 terms. So it's going to be positive 10x and negative 10x. Bring down the 5x squared and bring down the minus 20. So that's pretty much it. That's how we go from expression and connect it to our diamond and use it to go from 3 terms to 4 terms, and we are going to be factoring this out starting next week all the way through. All right, good luck. Get started. Work on your practice problems.